The 91st plenary meeting of the General Assembly is called to order. I welcome you this morning, where we will greet the new member of the United Nations. Welcome in our midst. But first we have some other business to attend to. The General Assembly will now turn to sub-item D of Agenda Item 112 on the election of the Executive Director of the United Nations Human Settlements Programme, UN Habitat. In this connection, the Assembly has before it a note by the Secretary General circulated in document A/60/895. As stated in the Secretary General's note, the General Assembly in its resolution 56/206 of 21st of December 2001 decided to transform the United Nations Center for Human Settlements into the Secretariat of the United Nations Human Settlements Programme, UN Habitat. In the same resolution, the Assembly also decided that the UN Habitat Secretariat should be headed by an Executive Director at the level of Under-Secretary General, to be elected by the Assembly for a term of 4 years upon nomination by the Secretary General after consultation with Member States. It is further stated that the General Assembly, by its decision 56/324 of the 23rd of July 2002, on the proposal of the Secretary General, elected Mrs. Anna Kajamulo Tibaijuka from the United Republic of Tanzania as Executive Director of UN Habitat at the Under-Secretary General level for a term of office of 4 years beginning 1st of September 2002 and ending on the 31st of August 2006. In accordance with General Assembly Resolution 56/206, the Secretary General nominates Mrs. Anna Kajamulo Tibaijuka as Executive Director of the UN Habitat for another term of 4 years, beginning on the 1st of September 2006 and ending the 31st of August 2010. Accordingly, may I take it that the General Assembly wishes to elect Mrs. Anna Kajamulo Tibaijuka as Executive Director of UN Habitat for another term of 4 years, beginning on the 1st of September 2006 and ending on the 31st of August 2010. I see no objections. It is so decided. I have a speaker on the list. I give the floor to the representative of South Africa, who speaks on behalf of the Group of 77 in China.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Group of 77 in China, we would like to concur with the Secretary General's decision to nominate Anna Kajamulo Tibaijuka as Executive Director of UN Habitat for another term of 4 years. Since her appointment as Executive Director of UN Habitat, she has proven herself worthy of leading this important program by working hard to analyze the issues and challenges to sustainable urbanization, an issue that is of great relevance to the developing world. Her leadership qualities, which guided issues of sustainable urbanization, prompted the General Assembly to upgrade the old Habitat Center into a fully fledged program of the United Nations. The Group of 77 in China holds this decision dearly, as it was sponsored by the group. The Group of 77 in China commends the progress made in the first 4 years of UN Habitat in its new capacity as a program. Ms. Tibaijuka has entirely raised the visibility and profile of both the issues and the program. In particular, we have noted with satisfaction the active role being played by UN Habitat in assisting member states to achieve the Millennium Development Goals, especially Target 10 on water and sanitation and Target 11 on slum upgrading. In this regard, we urge our development partners to give the Executive Director of UN Habitat the financial support required. The youngest program in the UN system plays an important role towards achieving sustainable development. Unfortunately, the resources dispensed to the program are disproportionate to its task. We are all acutely aware of the problems facing the world. Recently, at the Third World Urban Forum in Vancouver, Canada, we were once again alerted to the fact that one of the most pressing issues facing the world today is rapid urbanization in a world where half of humanity lives in cities and where in the next 50 years, that proportion is expected to reach 2/3 of the global population. Most of this urban growth is taking place in developing countries where the major challenge is to combat poverty and provide better access to basic shelter and services like clean water and sanitation. The Group of 77 and China would like to emphasize that during the ongoing reform process within the United Nations, programs like UN Habitat, which have a clear and unique mandate, should not be sacrificed or diluted by this exercise. Instead, such poor programs, which are so intricately linked to sustainable development in a rapidly globalizing world, should be bolstered and strengthened. Once again, we wish to renew our confidence in the leadership of Ms. Anna Kajamulo Tibaijuka, as she has proven herself in her last term to champion the cause of sustainable urbanization. We particularly commend her participation in the follow-up on the work of the Commission for Africa on urbanization in Africa. Her humanity and humility were so aptly expressed during the Third World Urban Forum, where she introduced to the gathering her student as well as her old teacher, whom she attributed her professional success to, as it was due to her encouragement that Ms. Tibaijuka excelled in her debating team and so developed the requisite skills for promoting and creatively leading such a program. We look forward to the next 4 years of a visionary approach around issues of sustainable urbanization, as well as on finding the balance between urban-rural linkages, so touchingly depicted by the little Kenyan Mope sisters singing at the Third World Urban Forum. The Group of 77 and China, Mr. President, wishes Ms. Tibaijuka all the success in the new term, and we look forward to working with her once again. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I give the floor now to the representative of Kenya.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my delegation associates itself with the statement just delivered by South Africa on behalf of the Group of 77 and China. I take this opportunity, Mr. President, to welcome and congratulate Dr. Anna Tibaijuka following her reappointment to the post of the Executive Director of the United Nations Human Settlement Program, UN Habitat, this morning during the 91st meeting of the General Assembly. The appointment of Dr. Tibaijuka is a true indication of the trust and confidence we, the member states of the United Nations, have in her abilities. Of course, this she has eloquently proved through her diligent, dedicated, and unwavering engagement at the helm of the United Nations Human Settlements Program since her first appointment in the year 2001. Mr. President, the importance of the United Nations Human Settlements Program cannot be overemphasized owing to the issues that it is handling. Issues of human settlements are at the core of sustainable development as they are closely linked to shelter. That, in actual sense, is indeed a basic need. We well know that millions of people in the world today either have no shelter at all or live under substandard and inhuman conditions. Equally important is the very worrying rate of urbanization and the associated threatening rate of slum development. As it is estimated, today over 1 billion people live in slums, and this number is likely to double in about 10 years unless urgent measures are taken. We well know that these are issues in which the UN Habitat has developed immense competence, especially during the tenure of Dr. Anna Tibaijuka. It is important, therefore, that the UN Habitat program be adequately supported both technically and financially to enable it face the challenges before the world in the areas of human settlements, slum prevention, and slum upgrading. Closely linked to the work of UN Habitat are the health and environmental aspects of water and sanitation and environmental management, sustainability within housing and human settlement areas. It is, however, Mr. President, important to note that by working closely with other United Nations agencies and programs, UN Habitat has been able to integrate the above important aspects in its work. This is quite commendable, as it has greatly contributed to the improvement of human livelihoods through an integrated approach to human settlements and related environmental aspects. Mr. President, I wish to applaud the Executive Director for her great work in the above areas, including in particular her efforts in implementing the Habitat Agenda and the related Millennium Development Programs and projects in Kenya. She has been instrumental in supporting my government in slum upgrading program. Most striking is the fact that she is the first UN Habitat Executive Director to establish an office in one of the largest slums in the world, the slum of Kibera in Kenya. I believe that you yourself visited Kibera slums, Mr. President, during your recent visit to Nairobi, and you saw the challenges and efforts which are being made jointly by the government, the UN Habitat, and other development partners in partnership with grassroots organizations and non-governmental organizations. I therefore call upon member states to re-enter and support the Executive Director in her endeavors of implementing the Habitat Agenda and the related Millennium Development Goals in all our countries, especially the developing world. For my delegation, and for me in particular, Mr. President, Kenya, which is the host to UN Habitat, reaffirm our commitment, our support, and we shall facilitate the work of UN Habitat and the United Nations office in Nairobi to the fullest extent possible. Mr. President, let me end by noting the excellent work done by the Executive Director in spearheading the very important initiatives that include the organizing for the Second World Urban Forum in 2004 in Barcelona, Spain, and the Third World Urban Forum that has just been concluded last week in Vancouver, Canada. Mr. President, I wish the Executive Director well, and we shall give her the fullest support. I thank you.
I thank you, and I give the floor to the representative of the United Republic of Tanzania.
Mr. President, the delegation of the United Republic of Tanzania wishes to join the first two speakers in extending our warmest congratulations to Mrs. Anna Tibaijuka for her re-election to the post of the Executive Director of the UN Habitat. Mrs. Tibaijuka has done a commendable job in raising the profile of the urbanization challenges in all parts of the world. My delegation wishes to specifically emphasize the importance of capitalizing the Habitat and Human Settlements Foundation and its slum upgrading facility. This call was made in paragraph 56M of the 2005 World Summit outcome. Our Vice President, His Excellency Mr. Ali Mohammed Shein, who delivered a keynote address at the Third World Urban Forum, which just ended in Vancouver, correctly observed that unless good urban policies are followed by commensurate investment resources at local level, it will be very difficult to translate ideas into action. We urge Mrs. Tibaijuka to enhance her efforts in this challenging task of capitalizing the Habitat and Human Settlements Foundation. We appeal to the donor countries to continue with their efforts to assist the Executive Director in this task by providing sufficient and predictable resources in a timely manner to enable her fulfill the obligations as mandated by the Member States. In conclusion, Mr. President, Tanzania will do all that is within its power to assist the Executive Director to discharge her responsibilities successfully. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, and I give the floor to the last speaker on this item of the agenda, the representative of Nigeria.
Thank you, Mr. President, and let me also associate Nigeria with the statement made by South Africa on behalf of the Group of 77 and China, and in particular to congratulate Dr. Anna Tibayuka for her good work and strong leadership of UN Habitat, in recognition of which the Secretary General has recommended and the General Assembly has just endorsed the extension of our office. This is a reflection of our collective faith in and satisfaction with the excellent work of Dr. Tibayuka. Since her assumption of office, Dr. Tibayuka has worked tirelessly to place the critical issues of shelter and urban environmental sustainability on the front burner of the global agenda, particularly in Africa, where the challenge of rapid urbanization is most acute. Nigeria is very pleased with the support that UN Habitat has given to the African Union, more especially the establishment of the African Ministerial Conference on Housing and Urban Development as the vehicle to facilitate the implementation of the Habitat Agenda and the relevant MDGs. UN Habitat has also been instrumental in launching the NEPAD Cities program and is working with the African Development Bank to ensure the realization of sustainable shelter objectives in Africa. Indeed, Nigeria has been working very closely with UN Habitat on the Sustainable Cities Initiative, Sustainable Urban Governance, and is very happy to house the the Habitat Support Office in Abuja to further these goals. We look forward to expanding our cooperation and would like to emphasize the need for the adequate funding of the core budget of UN Habitat to enable the program fulfill its mandate. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I safely can say that we in the United Nations are to congratulate ourselves to the re-election of Executive Director Anna Tibayuka. I saw myself during my visit to Nairobi in April the impact of her leadership on habitat and on the important issue of human settlements, urbanization and development. The General Assembly has thus concluded its consideration of sub-item D of agenda item 112. The General Assembly will now consider item 161, extension of the term of the permanent judges of the International Criminal Tribunal for the prosecution of persons responsible for genocide and other serious violations of international humanitarian law committed in the territory of Rwanda and Rwandan citizens responsible for genocide and other such violations committed in the territory of neighboring states between 1st of January and 31st of December 1994. In this connection, the Assembly has before it documents A/60/878 and A/60/906. In document A/6878, the Secretary General transmitted a letter dated 21st of March 2006 from Judge Eric Mercer, President of the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. In his letter, the President of the Tribunal recalls that the term of office of the permanent judges of the Tribunal will come to an end on the 24th of May 2007, and that there are a number of multi-accused trials that are currently underway before the Tribunal that are likely to continue beyond that date. All single-accused trials currently in progress are due to be completed between May 2006 and May 2007. The President of the Tribunal is of the view that it would not be a viable option to delay the commencement of new trials until after the newly elected judges assume their duties on the 25th of May 2007. This means that most, if not all, of the permanent judges will be engaged in trials when their four-year term expires on the 24th of May 2007. Should certain judges not be re-elected, particular cases might have to resume de novo with new judges. Consequently, in order to ensure continuity and the ability of the Tribunal to implement its completion strategy, as set out in Security Council Resolution 1503 of 28th of August 2003, and to complete all trials by 2008, the President of the Tribunal requested that the current term of office of the permanent judges of the Tribunal be extended until the 31st of December 2008. As the statute of the Tribunal does not provide for extending the term of office of the permanent judges, approval of the Security Council as the parent organ of the Tribunal and of the General Assembly as the organ that elects its judges would be needed in order to extend the term of office of the permanent judges until the 31st of December 2008. The Secretary-General therefore requests that the General Assembly and the Security Council grant such approval. In document A/6906, the President of the Security Council transmits to the President of the General Assembly the text of Council Resolution 1684 of the 13th of June 2006, whereby the Council inter alia, and I quote, decides in response to the request by the Secretary-General and notwithstanding the provisions of Article 12 bis of the Statute of the International Tribunal for Rwanda, to extend the term of office of the following permanent judges of the International Tribunal at the Tribunal until 31st of December 2008. Mr. Charles Michael Dennis Byron from St. Kitts and Nevis, Mr. Asoka de Silva from Sri Lanka, Mr. Sergei Alexievich Egorov from the Russian Federation, Mr. Mehmet Güney from Turkey, Mrs. Khalida Rashid Khan from Pakistan, Mr. Eric Mercer from Norway, Mrs. Arlette Ramorason from Madagascar, Mr. Jairam Reddy of Fiji, Mr. William Hussein Sekula from the United Republic of Tanzania, Mrs. Andresa Vaz from Senegal, Mrs. Ines Monica Weinberg de Roca from Argentina. Request states to continue to make every effort to ensure that their nationals who serve as permanent judges in the International Tribunal for Rwanda remain available to serve in their positions until the 31st of December 2008. If there is no objection, I propose that the Assembly decide to endorse this recommendation of the Secretary-General that was endorsed by the Security Council in its Resolution 1684 of 2006 of the 13th of June 2006. I see no objection. It is so decided. May I take it that it is the wish of the General Assembly to conclude its consideration of Agenda Item 161? It is so decided. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, Secretary General, I should like to invite the General Assembly to consider under Agenda Item 114, admission of new members to the United Nations, the positive recommendation by the Security Council on the application for admission to membership in the United Nations of the Republic of Montenegro. The Security Council has recommended the admission of the Republic of Montenegro to membership in the United Nations as stated in document A/6902. In this connection, a draft resolution has been issued as document A/60L58. I give the floor first to the representative of Austria to introduce draft resolution A/60L58.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, on behalf of the European Union, the countries aligning themselves with this statement, and an impressive number of co-sponsors, it is a great honor and privilege to recommend to the Assembly the adoption of the draft resolution before you to admit the Republic of Montenegro to membership in the United Nations. This is in accordance with Article 4 of the Charter and following the adoption of Security Council Resolution 1691 of 22nd June 2006, which recommends to the General Assembly that the Republic of Montenegro be admitted to membership in the United Nations. In his letter of 5th June, President Vujanovic has requested the admission of the Republic of Montenegro to the membership in the United Nations and has confirmed his country's complete adherence to the Charter of the United Nations. We warmly welcome the presence of the President of the Republic of Montenegro His Excellency Mr. Filip Vujanovic, here with us today. The Declaration on the Independence of the Republic of Montenegro was passed on 3rd June 2006 by the Parliament of Montenegro after the national referendum of 21st May, based on the Constitutional Charter of the State Union of Serbia and Montenegro. It envisages Montenegro as a multi-ethnic, multicultural, and multi-religious society in an independent state with full legal personality under international law. Already in this declaration, Montenegro signaled its intention to become an active member of the international community and to join the United Nations. We commend the peaceful and democratic way in which Montenegro gained its independence. We see this as a sign of political maturity of all actors. The European Union has been a steadfast partner of the people of the Western Balkans in the past years. It fully respects the decision of the people of Montenegro. On 12th of June, the foreign ministers of the European Union have decided to develop further their relations with the Republic of Montenegro as a sovereign independent state. On 16th of June, our heads of state and government have once again reconfirmed the European perspective of the Western Balkans on the basis of the stabilization and association process. The European Union is therefore very pleased to present to you this draft resolution. To our new member, the 192nd, the Republic of Montenegro, we say, welcome to the United Nations. Thank you.
Since the resolution was tabled, we have received a large number of additional co-sponsors that I now will read out to you. The additional sponsors are Andorra, Argentina, Armenia, Australia, Belarus, Belize, Brazil, Brunei Darussalam, Cameroon, Costa Rica, Cuba, El Salvador, Guatemala, Iceland, Indonesia, Israel, Kyrgyzstan, Malaysia, Maldives, Mexico, Monaco, Morocco, Nepal, Nigeria, Norway, Peru, Qatar, Russian Federation, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, San Marino, Singapore, Switzerland, Timor-Leste, United States of America, Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, and Vietnam. May I take it that the General Assembly accepts the recommendation of the Security Council and adopts this draft resolution by acclamation? It is so decided. I therefore declare the Republic of Montenegro admitted to membership in the United Nations, and I request protocol to escort the delegation of the Republic of Montenegro to its place in the General Assembly Hall. President Vujanovic, Mr. Secretary General, Mr. Foreign Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and friends. It's a great honor and pleasure for me on this historic occasion to welcome, on behalf of the General Assembly, the Republic of Montenegro as a new member of the United Nations. I congratulate the people and government of the Republic of Montenegro, and I congratulate the United Nations on the admission of its 192nd member state. Less than 6 weeks ago, the people of Montenegro held a referendum with a very high voter turnout, where a majority of the voters chose independence. 2 weeks later, on the 3rd of June, the Parliament of Montenegro passed the declaration on the independence of the Republic of Montenegro. In an open, democratic and peaceful manner, Montenegro has secured a smooth transition to the status of an independent and sovereign state. In demonstrating its adherence to democratic values and principles and the rule of law, Montenegro has set an important example. I am confident that Montenegro will strive for good neighborly relations and strong regional cooperation in the Western Balkans, thus promoting stability in an area struck by conflict in the recent past. I believe that Montenegro will also actively contribute to the multilateral efforts of the General Assembly and the United Nations in addressing the multitude of global challenges that lie ahead and we all face together. I wish the Republic of Montenegro and its people peace, prosperity, and every success in the future. Again, warmly welcome to the United Nations. I now give the floor to the representative of Zimbabwe, His Excellency Mr. Boniface Chidiwasiku, who speaks on behalf of the African states.
Mr. President, the Secretary General, Your Excellencies, allow me on behalf of the Africa Group to welcome the new state of the Republic of Montenegro to this family of nations. We sincerely congratulate the Republic of Montenegro on becoming the 192 member of the United Nations and wish President Vujanovic and the people of Montenegro well as the country joins us in the collective endeavor to address the many and complex issues before the United Nations. On the 21st of May, 2006 referendum that saw the birth of the new and independent state of Montenegro was an exercise of the right of self-determination. This is a principle that we in Africa have always respected and will continue to cherish. Being the newest member of the family is an experience that most of us in the Africa Group can relate to. It has its challenges as well as its excitements. With respect to the challenges, the Group of African States will be ready to extend its cooperation to the fullest extent possible to the new member, the state of Montenegro, the state of the Republic of Montenegro. We look forward to working together with the country's representatives. The Republic of Montenegro joins the United Nations at a crucial moment when the organization is seeking to renew itself, make itself more efficient, more responsive to the needs of its members and their citizens, particularly those in the developing world. It is our hope and expectation that the increase in the membership of the United Nations will translate into a groundswell of voices and opinions that will help us realize the many goals and targets that we set ourselves for. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank you and give the floor now to the representative of Turkey, His Excellency Mr. Baki Ilkin, who speaks on behalf of the Asian states. President of the General Assembly, Secretary General, President of Republic of Montenegro. Today we have gathered in the General Assembly to salute the admission of the Republic of Montenegro as the newest member of the United Nations. On this happy occasion, as chair of the Asian Group, I have the honor to extend our warmest congratulations to the Republic of Montenegro for joining the United Nations family as it is 192nd member. We note with great satisfaction the solemn commitment of the Republic of Montenegro to abide by and fulfill the obligations contained in the Charter of the United Nations. We would like to commend both the Republic of Serbia and the Republic of Montenegro for the peaceful manner in which they concluded the dissolution of the Serbia and Montenegro in line with the results of the referendum held in the Republic of Montenegro on the 21st May 2006, organized in accordance with the Constitutional Charter of the State of Serbia and Montenegro. The two brotherly nations have now decided to live in separate homes. We wish both countries continued progress and prosperity. Mr. President, the Asian Group looks forward to working closely with the representatives of the Republic of Montenegro in promoting peace, stability and welfare in the Balkans as well as in the international sphere. Thank you.
I thank you, and I now give the floor to the representative of Albania, His Excellency Mr. Adrian Eritani, who speaks on behalf of the Eastern European states.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, Excellencies, it is my honor to speak on behalf of the Member States of the Eastern European Group on the adoption of the Draft Resolution A/60L58 and congratulating the Republic of Montenegro on its admission today to the membership of the United Nations. On this occasion, let me warmly welcome His Excellency Mr. Filip Vujanovic, the President of the Republic of Montenegro, at this historical day for his people and for his country. We rejoice and share with them the sense of joy and fulfillment which provide on this historical day. As the newest state having been recently admitted to this indispensable institution, the Republic of Montenegro will add its voice to this august body to further harmonize our actions towards common ends and further strengthen the universality of the United Nations as well as its legitimacy and effectiveness. By admitting this new peace-loving state willing and able to carry out its obligations of the United Nations Charter, the goal of universality comes closer to the ultimate attainment. We praise the acceptance of Montenegro as a new member of the United Nations, and we reassure our belief of the friendly cooperation and partnership among our countries in fulfilling our obligations as members of this organization. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank you, and I now give the floor to the representative of Cuba, Mr. Rodolfo Benitez, who speaks on behalf of the Latin American and Caribbean states.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, distinguished delegations. I have the honor to speak on behalf of the group of Latin American and Caribbean states in welcome the entry of the Republic of Montenegro as member state 192 of the United Nations. We pay tribute to the President at this very special session of the distinguished delegation of the Republic of Montenegro, headed by the President, His Excellency Mr. Filip Vujanovic. This historic occasion when we welcome among us a new member is appropriate to reaffirm our firm commitment to the common values which bring us together at the United Nations, and to reiterate that we will continue to work tirelessly to make the hopes placed in our organization a reality. A lot remains to be done to comply with the noble aims and purposes of the United Nations. We are sure that the Republic of Montenegro will contribute through its efforts to work in this direction. The members of the group of Latin American states and the Caribbean are ready to work in close cooperation with the Republic of Montenegro in all areas of activity of the United Nations. The Republic of Montenegro can always count on our willingness, our support, and cooperation. On behalf of all the members of the group of Latin American states and the Caribbean, I wish to reiterate our most warm welcome to the Republic of Montenegro and congratulate the people and government of this country at this special time, wishing them every success, peace, and prosperity. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, and I give now the floor to the representative of Ireland, His Excellency Mr. David Cooney, who speaks on behalf of the Western European and other states.
Mr. President of the General Assembly, Secretary General, Mr. President of the Republic of Montenegro, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It is my particular honor, on behalf of the group of Western European and other states, to welcome the Republic of Montenegro as the 192nd member of the United Nations. The Republic of Montenegro arrives among us as a newly independent state, but we acknowledge its long national history reflected in its name, which reaches back through the centuries. The people of the Black Mountain, Crna Gora, Montenegro, have taken the democratic decision to assume their independence and to take their place in the family of sovereign nations. They did so according to procedures agreed with the Republic of Serbia, and we salute the governments and the peoples of both Montenegro and Serbia for the dignified and peaceful manner in which they managed this delicate process of separation, in full conformity with the United Nations Charter. We welcome the Republic of Montenegro as a state committed to the maintenance of a multi-ethnic, multicultural and multi-religious society. We look forward to the Republic of Montenegro playing an active and constructive role in the work of the United Nations. We, for our part, pledge ourselves to work with the Republic of Montenegro to fulfill the purposes and to promote the principles of the United Nations Charter in the interest of the people of Montenegro and of all mankind. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank you, and I now give the floor to the representative of the United States of America, who speaks as host country.
On June 12, 2006, the United States formally recognized the Republic of Montenegro as a sovereign and independent state, consistent with the request of its government and the will of the people of Montenegro. The United States now welcomes Montenegro's admission as a member of the United Nations and takes note of its commitment to fulfill its international obligations. We join our colleagues in extending our congratulations to the Republic of Montenegro on this momentous occasion in its history.
I now give the floor to the representative of Serbia.
Mr. President, Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me at the outset to welcome in our midst His Excellency Mr. Filip Vujanovic, the President of the Republic of Montenegro. We are gratified that he is present at the General Assembly today. The Republic of Serbia, continuing the international personality of the State Union of Serbia-Montenegro, is pleased to see the Republic of Montenegro, now a neighboring and friendly country with which it has maintained close ties, become the 192nd member state of the United Nations. We are convinced that the Republic of Montenegro will fully contribute to the respect and pursuit of the principles and purposes of the World Organization. Mr. President, I would like to emphasize that the Republic of Serbia, having spent almost a century in a common state with the Republic of Montenegro, shall seek to develop the closest and most friendly bilateral relations. The policy of good neighborliness and regional cooperation represents the cornerstone of my country's foreign policy in its commitment to the lasting stabilization of the region of Southeast Europe. We are convinced that this concept is also truly contributing to the fulfillment of the principles of the Charter of the United Nations. It is our firm belief that through bilateral and regional cooperation and through Euro-Atlantic integration processes, to which both the Republic of Serbia and the Republic of Montenegro aspire, this common goal can be achieved most efficiently. Mr. President, the Republic of Serbia stands ready to extend its full support to the Republic of Montenegro within the United Nations and closely cooperate and coordinate its activities with it. In doing so, we believe that both countries will contribute to the strengthening of the role of the World Organization and its capacity to respond to the numerous challenges of the present-day world. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Serbia for his important statement. The Assembly will now hear an address by the President of the Republic of Montenegro, His Excellency Mr. Filip Vujanović. May I request protocol to escort the President of the Republic of Montenegro? On behalf of the General Assembly, I have great pleasure in welcoming the President of the Republic of Montenegro, His Excellency Mr. Filip Vujanović, and to invite him to address the Assembly. You have the floor, Mr. President.
Mr. Secretary General, Mr. President, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me particular pleasure and honor to convey the gratitude of the Republic of Montenegro to the member states of the General Assembly, which voted in favor of Montenegro's accession to the United Nations only 5 weeks after the decision of Montenegrin citizens to restore independence. Now, if you allow me, I would like to continue in my language.
I would also like to thank the Danish Foreign Minister, Mr. Meller, and the Security Council for its recommendation that Montenegro should become a member state of the World Organization. Of course, our special appreciation also goes to the UN Secretary General, Mr. Kofi Annan, for his significant contribution to our fast accession to the membership in the UN. After 88 years, Montenegro restored its independence on the 21st of May, thus becoming the youngest country in the world. It restored the independence it had gained at the Berlin Congress back in 1878. This time it has been done without a peace conference in a democratic referendum. The referendum process was organized in compliance with the best democratic practice and international standards as generally recognized by all international and local observers. As a result, and taking into account its genuine commitment to democracy, Montenegro immediately received international recognition. The referendum was held in close cooperation with the European Union, and it was another significant step that we made towards our strategic priority related to European and Euro-Atlantic integrations, demonstrating that we have a democratic capacity required for further progress. Our membership in the UN represents a step forward in the overall development of Montenegro and another proof that we have been on the right track. We are aware of many challenges that lie ahead, but after a long period of time, we shall be responsible for our own destiny in line with the development capacities of our state. Mr. President, for all of us in Montenegro, the United Nations have always represented an irreplaceable bond among different states, peoples, and cultures, particularly at times of crisis that the Balkans has experienced recently during the tragic war conflicts. Throughout that period, the role of the UN was of paramount importance for encouraging dialogue and compromise. Although Montenegro was not directly engulfed by the war, it was not spared its consequences. Therefore, the UN role in that period has been even more valued and respected. For this reason, as a new UN member state, Montenegro is ready to actively support the organization's efforts aimed at peacefully resolving the conflicts and making its contribution to the UN humanitarian efforts, as well as peace-building and peacekeeping missions. I would also like to recall a significant but perhaps not sufficiently known detail from Montenegrin past, which serves as a testimony to Montenegro's devotion to this high goal throughout its history. Namely, in January 1897, the Montenegrin prince and later the Montenegrin king Nicola I Petrovich Negoš, while sending Montenegrin soldiers to the island of Crete to join a peacekeeping mission of the then great powers to prevent the ongoing conflict, proudly said, quote, "Great European powers paid me a great honor by inviting me to send a troop composed of my Montenegrins to Crete and join the international army because they believed that Montenegrins would discharge their duty as befitting them, honestly and heroically," end quote. I'm sure that this principle, which is still valid, as well as Montenegro's commitment to contribute to peace, regardless of its size, will also be affirmed in future engagement of our country within the United Nations. On the basis of previous experience, Montenegro has been deeply aware of the importance of establishing relations with other countries based on friendship and partnership, respecting their sovereignty and territorial integrity. In this regard, we attach special importance to good neighborly relations and regional cooperation, ensuring economic and overall prosperity and stability. We particularly want to further develop close cooperation with the Republic of Serbia, not only in the context of good neighborly cooperation and commitment to European integrations, but in all spheres of common interest reflecting our social and historic ties. As the new UN member state, Montenegro undertakes to respect all obligations under the UN Charter, including all UN documents signed and assumed by the State Union Serbia and Montenegro. Hereby, Montenegro confirms its dedication to observing the principles of international law, as well as to respecting the International Court of Justice, which safeguards the above principles. In the present context of challenges for global security, Montenegro wants to make its full contribution to the fight against terrorism, organized crime, and proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. To this end, Montenegro will particularly respect all UN conventions defining measures to efficiently deal with these challenges. As an ecological state, Montenegro has a special obligation to respect UN efforts aimed at promoting sustainable development at a global level, and it will actively continue to develop as a state, enabling its citizens to enjoy overall progress on the basis of sustainability. In that respect, we find it particularly important that the first UN eco-building in our region, which will be used by various specialized UN agencies, is to be built in Montenegro in cooperation with the UN. Taking into account UN efforts aimed at reducing the existing gap between the rich and poor, the developed and underdeveloped, the small and the big, Montenegro shall be further dedicated to full implementation of the Millennium Development Goals, thus contributing to better living standards of its citizens and stability in general. Montenegro will continue to develop and shape its policy in line with the principles enshrined in the UN Charter and the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, which serve as a basis for modern democracies. Furthermore, it will continue to implement and promote a policy that fully respects human rights and fundamental freedoms of all citizens, regardless of their personal and other differences. Montenegro has been very proud of its multi-ethnic and multi-religious harmony as one of its fundamental values, making it recognizable both in regional and broader international contexts. Mr. President, Montenegro is aware of the opportunities offered by the UN to small countries which have a chance to preserve and protect their interests on an equal footing with other states and nations, able to promote their identity and specific qualities through the UN membership. In this respect, I'm sure that even small countries, as it has been proven in the past, can contribute to the goals that the UN stands for. From the very beginning, the United Nations have been initiating positive changes and acted as an irreplaceable factor at the international scene, while the respect and promotion of its achievements and principles have been embraced by all modern and democratic states, including Montenegro. Despite the fact that there have always been and still are challenges ahead of the UN, I'm confident that the United Nations have a clear and bright perspective and future. United by common goals of noble values that all of us are committed to, we can be sure of long-term stability, security and overall prosperity. I'm positive, dear ladies and gentlemen, that Montenegro can make its contribution to this noble goal. Today, by becoming the 192nd member state of the United Nations, Montenegro has assumed with honor and dignity such a challenge and responsibility, confident that it will fully justify equally the expectations and obligations. Thank you.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Montenegro for his important statement. And I ask protocol to escort the President back to his seat. I should now like to inform Member States that the flag of the Republic of Montenegro will be raised at a ceremony which will take place in front of the delegates' entrance immediately following the adjournment of this meeting. And by this, the meeting is adjourned.